Hello friends and welcome back. I am back with project 4 with Earthy Elements and I want to do a split necklace with you today. I hope you enjoy this tutorial and I hope this gives you some design inspiration. I love doing split necklaces. I really think they are such a beautiful, unique look. The good news is that this entire stringing project needs to be done on camera because there's no way for me to pre-do a split because we work from the bottom up with one continuous piece of wire. So welcome everybody, welcome back to the mat. I hope you guys are having an awesome, beautiful day wherever you are. So I'm gonna have about 5.5 inches of beading on either side of my split. And then we add the 10 inches of my chain. You can see that's going to land about 20. We add an inch for some hardware, about a 21 inch. So for beading wire, I'm just going to eyeball it because I know that I'm going to do about, like I said, about 5 inches of beading on either side of my split here. So I'm just going to cut my wire accordingly. So there's 5, and then there's another 5, and then I'm gonna go 2 more inches for good measure, and that should be plenty enough wire. Yeah, that'll be plenty enough. So basically guys, I'm cutting about 15 inches of wire here. That should be plenty enough. I don't want to run out when I'm doing a split because once you get going on a split, you definitely don't want to run out of anything because you got to start over. Okay, friends, so here's how I am putting my split together. And again, I hope this inspires you. So I have my focal and, and I also have a couple of crimp tubes. I'll use the magical crimper, guys. And I do have some clamshells. Forgot. Because we got to put that on the back of my chain, at the back of the neck for my clasp. So I have my 2mm jump ring right here. I'm going to go ahead, and again, we work from the bottom up with the split technique. And so I am going to put this jump ring right on my focal, and feed it on my wire, because I need it going this direction. Just going to make sure I close that up really good because we're going on beading wire. So I'm going to make sure I'm really mindful there. Perfect. Okay. And then we need to find the center. So I'm going to now feed my wire down this jump ring to find the center. I also have a bead stopper on standby. Okay. So there's my center. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to be building one side at a time. Now I want to start my split. So in order to start my split, I have to put a bead down both strands. I'm going to put my strands together and I'll pull you down. Okay, so we fed our jump ring on and we found the center. But I want to start to split it in each direction on one continuous piece of wire. After our split, it ends up becoming two independent necklaces of each other. So in order to determine my split, what I am going to do first is I am going to put one of my agates down both strands of my wire. Any bead will work. Okay? And now this will establish my split. And then I'm going to go ahead and get that pulled way down. So I'm using the good wire. And also the color of the wire is perfect because it just blends beautifully. Okay, so do you see what I have here now? I've got my agate down both strands. And now these will act as independent necklaces of each other. Just pulling it nice and tight, getting that nice and close. So that's what I have. And now I'm going to work on one side at a time. So I'll just let this guy hang out over here, and I'm going to start my pattern. Now on a split, what I do is I usually go with a really small bead such as an 11-0, because you have to, when you're starting your split, guys, your beads right here are going to literally vie for attention. So you have to start with a split at the very bottom here, once we split it, with a smaller bead or two, which is exactly why I'm doing an 11-0. And if I can get on there, this 3mm, because otherwise your sides will not lay. Good Lord. And your beads will vie for attention. Okay, so you're going to want to start your split with two small beads. So now they're going to lay, those nice little tiny beads will lay right next to each other without vying for attention, because we want this down here to be really tight. And it'll make sense as soon as I get the other side going. What's happening? Okay, so one side is done. I'm going to go ahead and pull my beads over and duplicate that pattern on the other side. So I've got my 11-0s, my 3mm blacks, and my banded agate in coconut, and then my 4 bottle beads in sand. And I'm going to go ahead and now work on this side. So I'm going to just duplicate. So I started with an 11-0 and the 3mm black, and then started with my bottleneck. And I'm going to stop right there and push you down so you can see just precisely what I'm talking about with the split, which is why we want to start them with smaller beads. So do you see? Because those beads are so small, those 11-0s, they are not vying for attention like this. That's what we don't want. We want them to be laying right on top of that agate, right here, perfectly, just like that. That's what we want. But do you notice we needed room so they don't vie for attention? And pull you down. Okay, so again, I've got my bead stopper on this side, and I'm not worried about it because I'm not working on this side right now. I'm working on this side independent, as if it's its own necklace. So I am going to, this is one of the cases, by the way, too, friends, where we're not worried about fluidity and movement, so I don't have to bend or anything, because this is how ultimately the design lays. So we don't need to worry about our normal snake method and things like that I talk about. So there we go. So what I'm focusing on at the moment is making sure that this side, I'm going to push this guy out of the way, that the side that I'm working on here, that 11-0 Toho is literally laying on top of that agate. Okay, that's my focus. So I put my crimp tube down for the magical crimper down my wire. I am now going to feed this wire around the loop of the crimp on my chain, come around and just do like we would do regular crimping. But of course, I've got to turn it this way because I'm right-handed. Okay, so I'm going to go back around my crimp that's on the chain, go back through my magical crimping tube, get that wire through, and see if I can get that through, pull my tail, and now I am just going to go ahead and pull this together. I'm going to try to get my loop as small as I can and just leave room for my crimping tool. So let's get that pulled pretty good. I think that's good there. But again, I need to focus very well right here. So again, we're not worried about this side over here. I am going to now push this down right on top. So it's sitting right on that agate. And it just gave me a little bit of slack. I'm going to push that down a little more and see if I can get this wire pushed any further down and look and see. Yep, that's pretty good. And make sure my wires are not crossed over there. And get that crimped off. Always checking down there. Okay, very good. Okay, I think I've got just enough room for my crimping tool, and we'll get that crimped off. Being careful not to touch anything else. I'm going to get that crimping tool centered right inside that tube and go round and round to form okay, now I need to do it again, guys. I need to go down here. I need to push that toho right down on top of my agate and make sure that everybody's happy. Nobody is off. I want them to be right next to each other. That looks good right there. And try to match up the sides of my loops here. Looks pretty good there. I think I need to pull it down just a little bit. Looks good to me. We shall trim the excess of that off. And that's what we have. Oh yeah. So in order to finish this, so that's what we have, guys. That's our split. And that's just exactly the way that it lays, right? So you see why we don't need to worry about coiling it up because it's not designed to lay that way. It's a split. But does it make sense, guys? I hope it does. And I hope you guys are inspired if you have never made a split before because you see how easy they are. And you can also, like I said, make them any length. But they're just so beautiful. And I like the little tiny pop of green at the top. But we just, guys, we cannot go wrong with this Earthy Elements bag. So I'm going to pull you down. So that's my pattern. And again, notice how, I'm centered here. Nothing is vying for attention. Everything is perfect just the way that it needs to be. So to finish this off, I have the hardware on the back. So all I'm simply going to do here, friends, I could have, measured and pre-cut, but I'm just going to do it now. So I am just going to literally find my center, just laying my necklace out flat here, and I am going to find the center the best I can eyeball it, and if I need to cut it a little, I can. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut my chain. Okay, let's see how good I did. Not terrible. Not too shabby. Just a little smidge off of that side. Okay, great. And so, of course, to finish the back, just like we do any Coriana chain, I have my clamshells, and I've got my crimps, and I've got my jump ring. So let's do it. So we're gonna put the clamshell with the belly facing up down one side here. I'll pull you back down and let that drop. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a crimp on. Use a crimp beater, crimp tube. And I'm gonna go ahead, grab my chain nose, squeeze that, leaving a little bit of tail, like we always do on the Coriana chain. Push it as far as I can to the end, but leave a little tail. Give a nice squeeze with my chain nose. Make sure that it gripped. It did. Pull my clamshell up. And then we'll go ahead and close that up. And we will add a 2mm jump ring. And my lobster. And then we're gonna repeat the process over on this side. We'll feed the clamshell with the belly up, let it drop down my chain, feed on the crimp, using my chain nose, slide that crimp all the way to the edge of my chain, leaving some tail so it'll grip and stay in place. Give it a nice squeeze there. And that's what we have. Do my tug test. I have a tiny bit of tail, making sure that that crimp is adhered to my chain. We'll pull the clamshell up and go ahead and close that up. And we'll add our 6mm jump ring over here for our closure. And I hope you guys are so inspired and enjoyed today's video. And we'll make a split necklace of your own. So beautiful. Beautiful. Use any kind of chain, guys. You can also bead the whole way, like I said. So there is our finished necklace. That is just precisely what that looks like. And voila. And for final measurements, let me give you guys final measurements. If you want to duplicate this design and the count of the beads that I gave you, then that would be fantastico. So again, when we're measuring a split, by the way, because I always measure what goes around the neck, guys, I just measure it from where my split starts, not my focal drop. So from where our split bead starts, so that's all going around the neck, we have, after we said and done with all of our hardware, we have what, look at that, about a 21-inch necklace. Perfect. Perfect. I enjoyed making this split necklace so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And until the next video, my beautiful community, be blessed.